I encourage everyone to take a moment and breathe and take a tea cheers with a Jiri tea. A Jiri tea recognizes the beauty in shared stories and shared opportunities. Ajiri sources award-winning tea from Kenya, employs women in the region to handcraft the labels, and sends 100% of the profits back to the region to support orphan education. Save 10% on your order of Kenyan teas and coffee with the code BeautifullyHuman at ajiritea.com. AJIRIT.com. Tea mugs up. Hello, and welcome to the Beautifully Human podcast. I'm Nick Sheesby. In this podcast, I speak with beautiful humans from all around the world, sharing with you their incredible stories, revealing the power in every human story, to spread love and humanity to a world that is in desperate need of it, to show that we can all connect in beautiful ways no matter where we come from or what we look like. What you will find out is that we are all beautifully human. Let's all be beautifully human. Thank you again for checking out the Beautifully Human podcast. I am Nick Sheesby, and today I am hanging out with a good friend named Zenya. And man, she is just on a beautiful journey of a life truly lived. So I really hope you enjoy this conversation. Follow on Spotify, follow on Instagram at the Beautifully Human podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Those do help bring more listeners in, and most importantly, enjoy this beautiful conversation. I am very excited to have you on and chat with you. It's been a very long time. It's been like more than that.
No, more than that, maybe 6
Probably like
years.
7 years, something like that.
Yeah, it would have been.
Damn. That was like,
Yeah.
probably like 6 years. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's been a very long time. I met you in Miami, right?
yep,
On the weekend.
backstage. Yep,
Yeah,
I
man.
remember.
Whole different world. That is so fun.
I
But
know,
anyway,
right?
it is so good to see you. So when did you officially move to Hawaii? Recently then, yeah?
Yeah, officially like 2 weeks ago, but I've been here for 3 and change months.
Sweet. What
Yeah,
part?
Oahu, Waikiki.
Sweet.
Didn't
That's so
mean
awesome.
to. I just came out here to do a music video and I was like, oh, I'm not going home. No.
I hear that every time
Someone goes to,
someone comes and they're like, I had a friend that moved there. Oh God, it's been like 12 years now or something like that. And she was leaving Richmond and was like, I'm just going to go. I need like a summer out there. And I just want to like go see Hawaii. And yeah, she ended up, she's never left. She has a family there now. Like she got married and like
really?
just stayed. And I was like, I knew you weren't going to leave.
That is not what I'm here for. I am
Well,
here for me, but I'm like, there are more beautiful women on this island there than there are eye candy for my liking anyway. But
sure. Yeah.
but
It wasn't
what's the
hers.
irony of life?
Yeah, true. I mean, she wasn't looking for the family. I think she found it was like 8 years later, so it was way off.
Yeah.
She
But
just
it is
like,
beautiful. Island life is just like to be able to connect with nature and earth, and that's that's something that we don't get to do as much in the on the mainland with like the bigger cities.
right. Well,
It's not.
especially Los Angeles. I mean, there's the beach, but like, there's so much more to it than that. You know.
There's so much more to it. Yeah. So I'm an island girl. I've always been an island girl. So just being here, I mean, I really wanted to be in Jamaica. I was supposed to go to Jamaica, I mean, quote unquote, but then I ended
Right.
up coming out here to do the music video because Jamaica was like flooding and raining. It was so much it's just torrential rain. It would not stop. There was so many potholes in the road. There were landslides, there was sinkholes. And I was like, this is not a good time for me to go out there. I was back and forth living between Jamaica and LA for a while. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is not the time to go out. It was in the middle of the pandemic. I was
Right.
just, I was like, maybe I should just go somewhere that's still a part of the United States and work on my video there. So I came here and just everything started universally falling into place for me. So I was like, oh, yep,
Yeah,
sounds
don't
good.
fight
I'll
it.
do that.
You were looking for island life. It works. That's awesome.
That is actually yeah, that's my rule. No resistance. Just don't resist.
Yeah.
Keep the
Yeah. If it's
flow.
it, especially, it's so nice when it just works out like that. We're just like, all right, now I'm here. I got this beautiful island. I'm just gonna
And
hang.
it seems so exactly. I mean, it just seems so counterproductive for what I do, but I actually feel like it's the arrow in the bow. I feel like I'm really being pulled back to be able to actually gain target and strike at a
Yeah.
target with aim and vision and perspective. And this is a place where I actually can hear my own thoughts. I can really understand who I am, what it is that I truly want without the noise and the busyness of you should do this to get to here, or you should do that to get to this place, to this destination. And to be honest with you, I believe that the destination is like, it's such a small part. The journey is the longest part. So if I'm going to get to any destination, I'm going to sure as shit make sure I enjoy the journey. It's basically like buying a comfortable bed or sitting in spending a bit of extra money to pay for first class when you're flying on a really long trip and then you need to get to work as soon as you get off the
Right.
plane. So for
Right.
me, the journey, I've never actually said that before, but it just came out as I'm talking to you. But it's just that space for me where I'm like, this is where on an island, tropical island is where I'm mostly myself. And so I'm just really doing a lot of fine tuning inwards as a creative.
That's beautiful. I love it. That's
Thanks.
fantastic. And I mean, it's so good to feel that, Like
Yeah.
I can imagine being in LA. It's a little tough because it's just so manic there.
Yeah. Now that there's like not a lot going on, it's just the energy of people around and things that people would do just to get money and it's very high intensity right now. And I just wasn't feeling, it wasn't sitting right with me. And I've traveled the world my whole life. Like, I lived in Bali, I've traveled with Justin and Jay-Z and done all this like cool stuff. But there's just that thing where I'm like, well, okay, I can always get up and move wherever I want to go. LA is just a ticket away if I need to be
Right.
there.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I mean, if this pandemic's taught all of us anything, especially in our industry, is that we can create. Where we feel creative is a good place to be. And yeah, we can
exactly.
always like get to where we need to get to very
Hmm.
quickly. I mean, not
Happiness
quickly
is my
now in
goal.
this
Right. Yeah, but
in the
it's
pandemic. It's a little tougher.
well, when there's a will, there's a way. There truly is. Like you'll figure it out. You'll always
Yeah.
figure it out. I always
Oh yeah.
have. I don't know how
Yeah.
but I always have.
I'm with you on that one. Sometimes I'm just like, it just worked. It happened. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but you just got to take the risk. You got to be in it to win it, and that's the goal.
And
Good to
yeah, I'm
see you
just
too.
excited to hear about your life and get to know you better. So,
Hmm.
I like to open it up with a very open-ended question of just tell me about your life.
My life. Well, from the beginning, I was born in Newcastle, Australia, which is 2 hours north of Sydney, driving, not flying. And I'm from a beach town. I'm a beach girl, water girl. And I'm from a family of five. There's four older brothers. And yeah, I was the only singer, only true musician to just like break out of my family. All of them just are like, okay, she does music. And so I pushed my career in music at a pretty young age. I was writing full songs from the age of 9 and writing them on guitar. And I knew that I wanted to sing from a pretty young age. At school, I was singing lead singer at school and then decided to leave school early. And I told my mom was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to sing. And she's like, okay, well, you better do it if you're going to leave school. And I was like, I'm going to do it. And I was earning money pretty young from singing. So then I got a job with a three-piece group, and we would sing around town. As an 18-year-old, I was earning pretty good money singing as a trio. Eventually, I moved to Bali and sung with this 10-piece international group. I went there on a vacation. They got me up to sing. Someone told the band that I sung. So I got up to sing, and then they offered me a job and free accommodation. And I got to live as a 19-year-old for a year by myself in Bali, all expenses paid. Well, not all expenses, but enough expenses paid. It's pretty cheap
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And learned the language pretty well. I actually tested it out the other night. I was like, geez, I remember so much of that language still. Don't get to use it, but whatever. And yeah, I went back to Australia, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just itching to do music, but I can't do it here in Australia. There was just no really big opportunities. And I auditioned for Australian Idol maybe 3 times and got rejected. No, twice. Got rejected. And I was like, nobody sees me here. I got to go. So I flew to New York, didn't really know anybody at all, but actually just to go back a little bit, in Sydney, I was meeting a lot of people. I was meeting a lot of celebrities, being a bigger fish in a smaller pond. I was able to meet a lot of celebrities, a lot of bands that were touring in the
Yeah.
clubs. So I actually met Adam Blackstone, who is a big music director for all of the pop stars and R&B stars. He's fantastic. So I met him. He was just playing bass for Kanye at the time. And I just kept in touch with him via email. I don't think I even told him I was a singer or anything like that. But I would just keep in touch, just check in and be like, hey, just checking in on you and your family. Hope everybody's well. Then eventually I came to the States. He found out I was there, and he was like, oh, you live in here? I'd actually sent him some music, and he's like, well, I didn't know you sung like that. And then he's like, are you here? So he took me to a couple of gigs to meet some people, but I had already interacted with so many people. I knew a lot of the people he was introducing me to. So yeah, and eventually I was living in New York and just really trying to get myself out there. And I knew that nobody knew me, and I was starting from scratch. So I just offered to go sing demos for anybody that they were pushing to the labels for songwriting, because I figured if I was going to get in there and show people how quick I work in the studio, then they needed to see. And I wasn't going to be like, hey, you should pay me. Like, it was just like, no, I'm
Right.
making connections. And I would just say, hey, listen, just pay for my train ticket to get there, or pay for my lunch, and I got you. And I made a lot of great connections doing that. And I was very, very quick in the studio, stacking vocals, harmonizing. And still to this day, I'm friends with a lot of the people that I worked with. That just kind of got me out there and getting just content for me to have. And this was like 2008. And it was in a recession. I moved in a recession. So it was like
Mm.
a crazy time.
Yeah.
This may even lead into another question that you have, but so
That's all
but
right.
eventually uh, I had a boyfriend there. He ended up being in a really bad motorcycle accident and put into a coma in Los
Damn.
Angeles. And I'd never been to Los Angeles before, so I flew out there to be with him, and he was brain dead and on life support, and didn't seem like he was ever really going to come out. And while I was there, my mom called me to tell me that she had a brain tumor, and she asked me to come home and take care of her because it was terminal. So
Wow.
I had to leave him, fly back to New York, pack my stuff, go back to Australia. And for a year, I took care of my mom. I like gave up my whole everything just to be there with her. And she was a single woman, so I took care of her solely. And my brothers would help, but a mother and a daughter's relationship is pretty strong. And so I lived with her and took care of her until I couldn't take care of her anymore. She passed away 10 years ago on Christmas Eve.
Oh wow.
And I eventually was like, okay, I'm going to come back to the States. And then my boyfriend passed away too. So it was just like,
Jesus.
it's just that moment of like, what is going on in my life? How do I even begin to re-establish myself? I've been away for a long time. I don't even know if people know I exist anymore. I don't know how to even write a song because I'm terrified of what's going to come out. So I
Right.
was like, because I was writing a lot, and I had like, I didn't even mention it before, but I'd met some of Shaggy's producers and songwriters, and Shaggy became a very, very close friend of mine, and we created a writing team. But one of them came out while my mom was sick, and did some writing with me and brought his little setup, and we recorded
Cool.
for a while, but it wasn't really like a good time for me to focus.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I came back, and things started flowing a little bit more, and I was just trying to write, but I was going through so many emotions of like trying to recalibrate to this new life that is just this new reality that had hit me. And so I started working with Kimani Marley. I met him through some other friends. I'm heavily into the Jamaican Caribbean scene and the Afro scene. So I ended up meeting Kimani Marley, working with him on some music, and I was just like, I was in Miami working with him on some of his stuff, and I thought to myself, I like this, I need a breakthrough of some kind. And I just took myself to the beach in Miami, and I just prayed. I just said, God, take me wherever you want me to go. Just wherever I will go, wherever you send me. Like, I don't care. And I just know that if you send me somewhere, it's going to be good. And the next day, I got on the treadmill for 20 minutes. As soon as my 20 minutes was up, my phone rang. It was Adam Blackstone. And he's like, "Hi, Zenya, what you got coming up for like January, February?" This was in November. I was like, "Oh, nothing much. What's going on?" And he's like, I've got the Justin Timberlake gig. You want to do it?" And I'm like, "Let me check my schedule." Like,
Yeah.
yes. He's like,
Um,
"Send me a video of you singing um, until the end of time. I want to show him." I'm like, "Okay." Send him the video. Next thing, I've got an email with tickets to come to LA, start rehearsing. So, I mean, anything is due to change like within a moment of time. And that's why I know, like, don't panic. I could get a call at any moment.
yeah.
Like, just keep the flow, keep being open to receive. And so that happened. And I don't know, for those of you who are into your Caribbean music, your soca and your reggae and all that sort of stuff. So Marshall Montano, who is like the biggest soca king in Trinidad and Tobago, he actually hit me up and was like, "Hey, did you want to come to Vegas with me on January 1st? I'm going to do some recording. You want to come and like come to the studio?" I was like, "Sure. Okay." I said, "But I have to be in LA," because I was living in New York at the time. I said, "I have to be in LA on the 3rd to start rehearsals." So I was like, "Yeah, no problem. Just come for a day, come to the studio, and then I'll make sure you get to your gig." And I was like, "All right, thanks." So I get there, he calls me up, and I ended up recording with him and Boys to Men on a song, and then the next day just flew out. Like, what a
That's
way to
amazing.
start the year.
Brilliant. That's so
So
badass.
not only do I start touring with Justin, doing promo, but we start doing Legends of the Summer with Jay-Z.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm like messing up all your questions here. I'm just telling my life story, but do you want to
That's
ask any
it.
more questions? There's
No, no,
so
no.
much more.
I'm here to listen. No.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we tour with Justin and Jay-Z. I'm like, I totally missed a big story in there. Adam actually gave me a gig just before the Justin gig. He gave me Times Square Ball Drop. Um, that was my first ever gig. That
Wow.
was right after, not too, like the year after my mom died. I got the Times Square Ball Drop, and then the year after that, I got the Justin gig. And so I'm just like so grateful that he entrusted me with such a huge blessing, and it's changed my life forever. So I've been with Justin for 7 years. Justin Timberlake, if I didn't mention that before. So yeah, so that's been my whirlwind. I've gone from being the girl that's it's like, hey, just get me in, I'll sing whatever, just know me. And then here I've been on a world stage, I've sung for President Obama at the White House, and I've done the most incredible gigs around the world. Jay-Z is like magical to work with as well. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew, but Abel, the Weekend, he used to open up for us when we first started touring. And then he just went back to the drawing board and just came out with this crazy like
That's so rad.
project that just made him off the charts. And look at him, did the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I do remember hearing about that, but I didn't follow his career. I only like I caught it once it was where it was, when I
Yeah,
got on board with that. So I kind of missed his coming up, and then all of a sudden it was just like, here's this dude that is like the biggest dude right now. So that's really
yeah,
cool that he was. I mean, I feel like anyone that is hanging with Justin is good company. So I'm not surprised he
yeah.
skyrocketed up.
Oh,
Um,
he like did so well.
yeah. Oh man, that's so cool. So I think that's so cool. Like I did read you posted something, it was a while ago, but I like paused on it because I was like, "Ooh, I know I'm hanging with you," and I was going to talk to you on the podcast, and I was going to ask you about your writing songs when you were super young. So like, what what kind of songs did you write when you were young? Were they poppy songs, or what kind of songs did you sing back then?
Yeah, I guess so. I was a really big so I grew up listening to African music, so I was always like I never really got the chance to like be able to stack my harmonies. So I would like have cassette tapes and like switch the cassette tapes so that I could record my harmonies along with certain things. But I would just write little acoustic songs that I loved Jewel, I loved Sheryl Crow, like those were
Yeah.
they're little, I guess they were little folky kind of songs, but they were like poetic. And but you know, I've been writing for a long time, so I guess it was they always switched up. It just depended on what I was listening to, but you can only make something sound so so poppy when you're just playing a guitar.
Right. Well, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Man, and how cool to have that experience when you were 19 too. And I know you said like almost all expenses paid, but I imagine if I was getting to live somewhere super exotic when I was 19 years old and any part of life was paid for me, I would have been like, this is the best thing ever. Like that had to just be such a magical experience.
It changed me forever because I learned like so I had the option of staying in this beautiful villa with the rest of the band from all around the world, or living in the city like by the beach, but in the city with the locals. And I was
Oh,
like,
yes.
and in like a shithole, honestly, but it was my choice, and I chose to live in a shithole.
Yeah.
And I got my whole goal was like I want to be able because the kids didn't know English, so I wanted to be able to speak Indonesian with the kids. So I would come home from work or rehearsals every day, and I would sit and talk, and I would buy chips and drink minum and makan, like food and drinks for the kids, and I would just sit there and I would learn from them, and then I would go and study the language with my book upstairs. I would write notes, and then in my subconscious, because I was just working on the language so frequently, I would wake up the next day, most days, with a new word imprinted in my brain. I'm like, what is that word? What is that word? And then I would look in my book, and it would I learned a new word. And I still to this day can remember this language, and it was like a long time ago.
That's so awesome.
But I lived it, it's just being able to live it.
Right. Yeah. I language is one thing that I would love to be better at, but I didn't there wasn't any it wasn't impressed on me as a child of any importance to it. It wasn't like, hey Nick, go learn this so when you leave Ohio you can take this with there wasn't any like outward push. So that's one thing I love any stories about languages and how people learn them, and um it's so rad that you've kept you've kept it in your mind this long. Do you speak any other languages
Mhm.
besides those two?
Not really. I just pick up languages wherever I go, but then if I start, then people think that I know the whole language because I always say everything so well. But then I'm like, no, 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 that's all I know. That's all I know. Don't speak to me in French. That's it.
Right, right. I did that in Germany one time. I said something to my cab driver, and he all of a sudden just started flying in German, and I was like, no, 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 no.
Deutsch.
I like I'm thankful that you think I know, and I actually like passed of what I said, but I very that's about all I have.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
yeah.
That's what
Um,
happens when you go on tour. I think it's important though, if you wherever you go to ask how to at least say thank you. That's my
yes.
goal is, but if you ever want to learn a language, it's I always start with the words what, when, where, how, and why.
Mm,
They're always your best ways
yeah, that's a
to
good
like
one.
navigate. At least you can
Sure.
navigate. And thank you, no, please, and yes, of course. Like they're just like the basic things to just be like, what, or or and I'm sorry. They're always good.
Yeah, sorry is always a good one to know in any language.
Yes,
um,
exactly.
so this is always a topic that I like to bring up in the podcast, and you just brought it up beautifully. I know you have seen a lot of this world, but so far in all that you've seen, what, and I know it's an incredibly tough question that I bring up, but what's your favorite place you've been so far?
Jamaica. Jamaica, I love. Okay, I'm gonna list a few. Jamaica, not just because it's so beautiful, but the people. I love the people so much and the culture that they bring, the music that they bring, the heart that they bring, the family um, environment, and they're so giving and forward. They're not even backwards about being forwards. They're so forward. I love that. I love Greece. I
Mm,
spent a solid week in Greece, the Greek islands, and I loved it. Brazil, love Brazil so much. The Holy Land, love the Holy Land. I'm gonna name two more:
yeah.
Morocco
Oh my God.
and Dominican Republic.
Okay. Morocco is like probably top of my list of places I want to go right now.
Really?
Yeah, I have. Funny enough, I didn't know how to cook. Well, it's not really funny, but I didn't know how to cook before
I
quarantine.
find it funny.
It's kind of funny, but I mean, being on tour, I never had to.
Sure,
I was
yeah.
always bouncing around, so I never took the time. Well, I just never took the time. But when I started to learn how to cook, I found a ton of just amazing Moroccan recipes. So
Oh
that was like
wow.
I started learning, and then I started to figure out that I really loved the cuisine. And then I was like, man, I want to go to this place. And then I read a book that was in Morocco, and it just started like going up my list of
You've
wanting
been
to go.
called. You've been called.
I think so. I think so.
You've got to go. I went to the bazaar at night and
Oh,
I
man.
went with one of the the percussionist, Terry Santia. We went for a walk together and then he's like, I'm gonna head back. And I'm like, I'm gonna stay. But I just like kept it was so safe. I mean, at least I thought it was, but I it was like I was walking through and they had all of those mounds of the colored spices
Oh my
and I
God.
was
Yeah.
holding like chameleons and there was just like the most bizarre things that you could buy like a what is it like a smoke blower that you can
Oh
like
yeah.
as an old family smoke blower company that would make these beautiful designs out of like camel's bone and salute to the animals. Like I'm not really that person, but it was just like it was so beautiful and so cultural and lively and you have to go.
Yeah. I think all of those reasons are why I want to go too. I just love getting into new cultures and just like not knowing what the hell's going on, but then being like, this is just great.
Immersed in
I
it.
want to see all of it. Yeah, the bazaars, like the one that I went in Istanbul to one, and I was just like, holy shit,
I
there is
actually
just,
never went to that. I'm so bummed I didn't
oh
go.
man, it's one of those where I would always say go, no matter what, but it was just like a head spin because there was just so much going on that I was like, oh my god, I don't know where to. It's just never ending too. That one, the Grand Bazaar, is just,
Wow.
it's monstrous. So it was like, it was a maze. So like if you turn one way, it looks all like it just looks the same too, except like different colors and spices, but it's just row after row, and it was pretty amazing. But
Istanbul is gorgeous. Yeah, Turkey's nice.
yeah, that was cool. It was the first place that I had been to a fully different culture, and
Well, I
it was really
actually,
neat.
I fully want to go so badly, and this is like hilarious. Like I have been obsessed. I swear I was reincarnated as an African person into my little Australian body because ever since I could speak, like even my brother and I were talking about it the other day, I was obsessed with Africa. Like
Hmm.
since I could talk, I used to ask my grandfather, could he drive me to Africa today? Like every time I would see him, I like, could you drive me to Africa today?
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
I would listen to Lady Smith Black Mambaza Tribe. Like I
Oh my
knew
god,
all
amazing.
of the Swahili words that they would speak. I would run and like every time I would see like any African families or people, I would be the little girl that went missing and I'd be like, do you have any African music you could give me? And then they would bring me back to my family. Like, is this your daughter? Your daughter Sol was born in Africa. So I've always wanted to go to like Kenya, Botswana,
Mm,
Zimbabwe, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, like all
yeah.
these places have, but I've never been. And that was like something that I would live there for a while, but you know, I'm just Australian, we just go anywhere.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one though. I just spoke with, and I just put it out, but a friend of mine that I did some music cruises in early 2020, and one of the dudes that worked on the ship was this like super awesome dude from Zimbabwe, and I
Wow.
had him on, and we just bonded, and he was just like the sweetest soul, and like just this beautiful person, and like when I saw him, it was like he was just smiling, and I was just like, I have to know this dude. Like there
His
is a
energy
joy
was
in this
right.
man and this energy, and then like we did 4 cruises, and he and I just became really close friends, and so I still chat with him almost every day. And he came on, and
Yeah.
like I was like, will you speak in your native language? And then he started speaking, and I was just like, oh my God, it is just the most beautiful poetry
Oh my
ever. And you
God.
could have also said, fuck you, Nick, you're a piece of
And you
shit.
would
And I
you'd
would
be
have
like,
been
I'll take
like,
two.
hey, please, can you say it again and again? This is fantastic. I don't care.
Does he still live in Zimbabwe?
He just went down to South Af. He's in
Mhm.
Cape Town now,
Oh, yeah, right.
but he
Got it.
did all of like, it was wild. Yeah, he was on the cruise ship for a while, then had to go in quarantine. But um, I also spoke with a woman who runs a company called Ajiri Tea, and it's based out of Kisii, Kenya. And she was like,
Wow.
Nick, you have to go. So I think I'm on it with you on that one too,
Yeah.
where I think I need to go down there and just like immerse myself.
Yeah. I think it's, everybody's told me that when you go to the motherland, it would change your life forever. Everybody always says that.
Yeah.
Must do.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think those are definitely high on my list. But on that note too, if COVID restrictions and all of that, travel restrictions aside, if I gave you a plane ticket to anywhere in the world, where would you be headed to? And you can do it Oprah style, like you can be like, picture Nick as Oprah, and I'm just like,
Oh
you get a
man.
ticket to here, and yeah, you can do that.
Um, Probably Kenya. I want to go to Kenya. That's where I
Yeah,
want to go.
I'd have to be like,
Nairobi.
well, I'm coming too.
I gotta go to Nairobi. Like after that, I'll be like, okay, if you got to take me now, guide, I suppose it's okay. But I'm not really speaking that out into existence. But then, it would feel pretty complete for me to be able to
Oh yeah.
experience that. But I just feel like God keeps showing me some pretty awesome stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, take me on the ride. I love this. This is so cool.
Yeah, life is a brilliant journey
I'm
when
a
you just like, let's just go. Let's just do it.
small girl from a small town, and I end up being on a big stage with a big superstar. You never know where life will take you if you're just open minded.
Yeah, that is so true. What in all the gigs you've done, and this could be any single gig from like your first one ever to whatever. What's your favorite one in your memory that you've done?
Um, there's two that come to mind. One is for President Barack Obama. That was We did a Memphis tribute, and that was
That's
phenomenal. I did that with
incredible.
Justin, and got to sing with Ben Harper and
Oof.
Mavis Staples, and
Oh, what a
like
sweet
Booker
woman.
T and the MGs, and Queen Latifah, uh, Cyndi Lauper, you name it. There was so many wonderful people on that gig. And then another one, this is really weird. So it wasn't the Super Bowl, but we did a show after the Super Bowl with Jimmy Fallon and the Roots. Jimmy Fallon followed us to, oh, it's not that he followed us, but I don't know, maybe it's the bromance thing that him and Justin have. I don't know if that's how it worked out, but he came and did his show for after the Super Bowl in Minnesota, and we came and performed a show after that.
Hmm.
And that was just so much energy and so much fun that it was just intimate. It was like intimate, it was sacred, it was like family, because the Roots are like, we're the Tennessee kids, and then we have the Roots, and we're all
Mm-hmm.
we're all just family. And so performing and having those guys there, and just like it was almost like all your friends were there supporting you after your big gig. So
Yeah,
it was more so that show after the Super Bowl performance than the actual Super Bowl performance itself. It's
that's
weird to
so fun.
say, but for me, I'm a real energy person. So if it feels good and I remember it and it stands out, then
Yeah,
that's it for me.
that's so awesome. Yeah, I imagine like it has to be that because yeah, of course, like the big massive monstrous gigs have to be incredible, but like whatever, that one where you're just like you're feeling it, like the energy's good, just everything's rocking, like there's got to be ones like, I mean, of course, the one for Obama, like how could you top that? That's incredible, and all the names you're
I,
saying, like that's
my
just
God,
unreal.
I have to tell you a funny story. So, I'm from Australia, so I don't know how to address anybody, and I was not I was not so when I walked up to the president, I was like, he was shaking everybody's hands. Remember when we did that? He was shaking
Yeah,
everybody's hands, and
right.
I shook his hand. And I was like, Obama, and I was like, President. I was like, Barack, President Obama, and he just cracked up. I was like, messy. I messed up. I was like, ah, he just cracked up at me. I was like,
Brilliant.
yo, what the heck? You did not think this through whatsoever. I was like, oh, dummy.
But I have to think in a moment like that, it's more fun to have that story.
I don't really have too many goofy moments. I'm like pretty good with social interaction, but it didn't come to mind which title to use. I'm not used to running into presidents. So
Sure.
it was just like, yeah, grand,
That's
grandly messed that one up
uh,
in the most incredible way. But he
I
just
love
laughed,
that.
so it was fine. Thank God he was so cool.
Yeah, I imagine I any president, I imagine that happens to him more often, that people just kind of get to that like what's up dude level with him
Yo,
than like
B.
anybody else. They're like what's up, and he's like I'm
Yeah.
still the president.
Yeah.
I can imagine like That's so good.
Oh my God.
Um,
It took me a while to admit that, but now I just laugh. It's funny.
yeah, that's what you just embrace that one. I mean, because if anyone gives you shit, you're like, well, I still met Obama.
Yeah,
So there's
exactly.
there's that on top of,
Hmm.
any of it. And it's like, you tell me how you would have acted too. Like, come on.
I'll
Come
own
on.
that. I love and accept the fact that I'm royally messed up.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so good. One other thing that I saw that I wanted to ask you about. It was great that someone asked you on your Instagram to say a bunch of facts about you. So
Oh yes.
I had some
Oh, I
stuff
know
to dig on.
exactly what you're gonna ask me. Go ahead.
It's about predicting
Oh, I didn't know you
events
wanted.
through vivid dreams. I was like, this would actually prove my question right if you had
Yeah, no,
said it.
I was like, because everybody kept asking me about being mugged
Well,
and
I
me
mean,
getting
tell
my
that one
purse
too if
back.
you want. That's a
So
fantastic
no,
one.
but so I'm gonna tell you when it all started. If actually somebody yesterday asked me, like, where did you go to learn all of your spiritual teachings? And I said, it's not that I necessarily went anywhere. It's where I went, like, in my dreams. So since I was a child, I've really been able to tap into my dreams. And now I'm using it a lot more in my meditations and things like that. I'm learning to understand when something is more of a prediction and when something is some foresight for something else or digging deeper for myself. But I'll give you an example. So when I was 9 years old, I was living in Australia. My brothers are a lot older than me, so they could drive, and I was still at school. So my mother was doing a course at this place we call TAFE. So she's doing like a fashion course for at a trade school. But I woke up one morning and told my mom about this dream. So I had this dream that in my room, a red belly black snake, which we have in Australia, they are exactly what I explained, slithered up to me in my bed and like looked at me. Not in my bed, beside my bed. It was beside my bed. I was in my bed asleep, and I woke up and I looked at it, and it had these really long fangs like a serpent, and it started talking to me. And I was like, I don't remember what it said because all I could think to myself was, how is an animal talking to me? Because it was so real.
Wow.
It was
Yeah.
so real. And I was like, how is this animal? Like, I am freaking out. This animal is talking to me. So I ended up waking up the next morning. I was like, Mom, I had the weirdest dream. This snake was talking to me in my sleep, a red belly black snake. And she's like, that's weird. Anyway, my brother Jamie took me to school the next day, and he took my mom to her course. And then the next in the afternoon, he came and picked me up. He's like, we can't go home. And I was like, why? He said, there's a red belly black snake in the house that slithered across my foot while I was on the phone. And I was like, you're lying. Because my brother used to always love to play tricks. And he's
Sure.
like, I'm not. I was talking to someone on the phone and it slithered across my foot. My mom, we went to pick her up, can't go home. There's a snake in the house. She's like, you're lying. And he's like, I'm not lying. So we ended up like looking up these snake catchers. And first time we'd ever really ever had to look that up. So they came along looking everywhere. We had like a 4-bedroom house, so we couldn't find a snake in there. It was just my
Oof.
brothers had all this shit under their bed anyway, so like it was probably
Right.
hiding under there. And so I was sitting on my brother's lap that night, and I said to him, I was like, Jamie, what's that on your chest? Do you have he had this cotton patch on his chest. And I was like, did you get a tattoo? And he's like, yeah, I'll show you tomorrow. I'll show you tomorrow. And I was like, show me now. He's like, no, I'll show you tomorrow. So I went to go to bed. Like, my mom put me on the top bunk of my other brothers who'd moved out. She's like, let me put her up there. And then you hear my other brother Daniel yell out, found it. He went to the bathroom. He went to go pee, and it followed behind him, and he saw it and he jumped over it, and it curled up into the corner of the bathroom. Mind you, they are very venomous. They can
Yeah.
kill you. They can make you
Oof.
very, very sick or kill you. So, but to me in the dream, it didn't seem dangerous. It seemed like it was there to like inform me of some wisdom. which was
Hmm.
super, like, I've never been afraid of snakes since this happened. So the snake catchers came and they put it into like a pillowcase and they took it and let it free in these wetlands. And the next morning, my brother showed me his tattoo, and it was a snake with really big fangs, like really long fangs on it. And we
What?
talk about that to this day. I was 9 years old, and a few things would happen. Like I would predict, like, oh, there's going to be a really big storm, and my mom's like, oh no, it's fine, and she went to sleep. And then next thing we find out, like the church roof is blown off, and my mom was like, okay, we have to start listening to her, because she's just
Yeah.
like, because I would just constantly have these dreams, and I'm like, don't ever bother lying to me. I'll find out in my dreams. It's
Right,
it's
right.
it's nuts, but it's crazy because sometimes when you have that information, you don't always have to use it. You have to just note it. And I'm
Sure.
learning a lot more now. Like, but there's a lot of people that have been around me throughout my years that will actually like attest to this. It's happened so many times. Oh, even on the tour, like Nicole, she was like, I had a dream with her. I was like, Nicole, I had a dream that you and three other Black women went on this cruise, a Caribbean cruise, these elderly women. She goes, my mom, my two aunties just asked me if I wanted to go on a Caribbean cruise. And I said, you went in my
What?
dream, so you should go. And another friend of mine from the tour that came in, I called her one day. I was like, girl, I had a dream last night that you got engaged to get married. And she goes, Zenya, I haven't told anybody yet. And I was like, girl, I didn't even know you had a boyfriend.
Damn.
So I didn't even know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, I just know now, just say it. If something is going on, just say it and see what happens. And usually it's like, what?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's so as you were talking too, I was like, okay, it's Australia. It's probably a venomous snake.
Yes.
That's so crazy that it started with that because I think snakes are very incredible creatures, but I'm not I'm not afraid of them. I'm very like stay away from them. So it's amazing that it started off with something like that was pretty harmful, and now you're not afraid of them, and also that it
Oh,
was
I
a
picked one
tattoo on
up.
your brother.
I
Oh,
know, right? I picked one up not long after, like a couple of years after that. I picked an injured red belly black snake up out of the curb of the street and near these tennis courts. These kids are playing tennis, and they're like, "Girl, you're crazy!" And I'm like, "It's injured." And I picked it up. I put it in a plastic bag, and I took it to this. Like I asked somebody to take me over to take it to the vet so that they could release it.
oh my goodness, that's amazing. Um, the reason I asked you about that, the vivid dreams, was I've had one, and it's not anything predictive. It's just something that's like stayed with me ever since I was a kid. I've had this dream of free falling, where it's insanely vivid. I can picture the football stadium where I jumped off of in my dream when I was super young, probably like 6 or 7, and I've just always had like almost night terror dreams of falling. And so now, like if I'm in a hotel and it's a balcony on a high floor or anything towards the edge, I get this like feeling that I'm going to throw my body off of that. And
That
it's not to
sounds
hurt myself.
no, no, no. That sounds like a past life.
Hmm.
That sounds like something that did happen to you, but just not in this life.
Hmm.
Maybe you remember it. I remember this. And by the way, I never believed in this stuff before, but too many things have happened to me
Sure.
to like for me to be like, I can't deny that this is a thing. Like I remember these things. I remember like seven, and
That's so
so
wild.
maybe it's a past life thing
Yeah,
for
it could
you
be.
because you should probably do some kind of past life regression and see if that's something that comes up, because maybe it'll like switch it off.
That'd be nice because it's a really odd feeling because
Because it sounds like
I'll
a
be like,
memory.
yeah, I think it could be. I've never thought of it that way. I've always just thought like maybe I go skydiving and I just get to feel that.
I think it's a past thing that you
Hmm.
remember. There's a book called Many Lives, Many Masters. I would
Okay.
recommend actually get the audio because it's really good. It's really good storytelling about
All right.
yeah, about this woman who kept having these. She was afraid of heights, she was afraid of water, she was afraid of the dark, she was afraid of going to sleep, and then
Hmm.
all of these things surface for her. So maybe it would be comforting to know that it's not something that you're predicting, but rather something you're remembering.
Huh. That's cool to think about, actually. I've
When you
never.
change the way you look at things, the things you're looking
Yeah,
at change. Wayne Dyer.
I like that a lot. Huh. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's also like one of my weird fears is being in the middle of the ocean in the middle of the night. So a cruise ship was definitely challenging both of those last year when I was on the cruise ships. It was a very strange feeling.
Yeah, that sounds like a memory too. Maybe you're tapping into a gift that you have of just like remembering that stuff. Maybe there is something that like, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if it was something that you're just remembering it and you're tapping into it
Hmm.
a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll have to do something with that. And it's weird because now my Zoom is like
I know,
ghosting me.
trippy. I know.
We're bringing it. I'm like looking.
Woo!
I'm gonna look around my room now.
Don't
As
mean
I
to
was talking.
spook you out.
No, it's all right. If it's in here, if something's in
But
here, that's
thank
okay.
you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's just one that has
It's
never
always
gone
good
away.
juju.
Yeah, yeah, it's just one that's never gone away.
Mm,
And I mean, when I was drinking, I had just extreme night terrors of like I actually saw myself die in dreams twice,
wow.
which I've heard that you're not supposed to be able to do.
You can do anything. That's that's like, and apparently you're not supposed to see people in your dreams that you've never met or never seen before. You can't create faces you've never seen. I don't know,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't know. I think you're tapping into something that's like I think it's a little bit more exciting than fearful.
Yeah, I'll have to
You
tap
can
more
change
into it. I've never thought of
perspective.
it that way. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Also, one thing
Yeah. Oh, I'm
that
always that person that comes in and changes.
no, I love it. It's fantastic. I also had never thought of my buddy who I lived with in Denmark. He told me about a time when um, well, so obviously he speaks Danish, but he's fluent in English. And when he was hanging out with me, he was dreaming in English. And I was like, oh, dude, I didn't even think of dreaming in a different language.
Yeah, I used to dream in Indonesian.
That's so cool. And
And I've but you've probably like made some music in your song or sung a song where you're like in your made some music in a dream or like come up with a really great song and then woke up in the morning you're like damn it, like have you ever felt like that where you've sung something, you've done something so cool, or you invented something or you cracked a code for something and you wake up in the morning like what the heck did I do?
yeah. Oh, yeah. I do that a lot. I wake up and I'm like, if I could have just like projected that, like Black Mirror style on the wall and just saved it for later, that would have been fantastic.
I know a lot of people that it like aren't even in music and then be like, I just wrote the best song last night and I woke in my dreams and I woke up and I forgot. It was so good too. It was a hit.
Yeah. I definitely heard that. And then like people just like waking up and being like, and going back to bed.
That's
But
what
I don't think I could control it.
Sting said about the every breath I take. That song. He dreamt about that.
Huh. That's awesome. Um, all right. I have two more questions for you that I like to ask everybody. Um, and the first one is, what would you like the world to know about you?
I am it's interesting that you asked that question because here I'm going to let out with a little bit of vulnerability right now. Um, I've been putting my album together, and as you probably understand, in the music business as an independent artist, it's expensive. So I've been like wanting to put out a lot more content and wanting to put out a lot more music, but the pandemic, me moving, me changing scenery, and me getting into my spiritual life has been taking up a lot of my space. But at the same time, I'm getting things ready to start putting my music out. So not only would I want the world to know that that I'm a solo artist, but I love them to know my Venmo account to give me some money, to put money in my account and invest in me at Zenya, Zenya. Send me money. But also, I would like the world to know that whoa, green is money, green.
See?
Hey, what? Okay, for everyone who's listening, the screen just changed to green out of nowhere and then just switched back.
And I didn't do anything, I promise.
Yes. Oh, yes, manifest.
See, you manifested it. Make that money. That's amazing.
That's right. That is confirmation. All right, I received that.
It's coming in.
That's magic. Do you ever have that on the other Zoom calls?
No, that's the first time it's happened.
That's what's up. I love this. Whoa, it just went dark.
Yeah.
Shady. Okay, this is cool. And yeah, I'm not just an artist. I obviously am a very spiritual person, and I'm a mentor. I mentor a lot of people, but I mentor people for a mindset. So just takes me out of just the light of being a musician, an artist, a technical singer, and a background singer, a songwriter, all of those things. But if anyone's ever read the book The Alchemist, I am the boy, I'm the kid on the journey to the pyramids. So I'm just a human being living life that has experienced something so powerful and so amazing, and so many experiences, that I'm just a magical being manifesting this really cool life. And stay tuned to watch me. Stay tuned to see what else I can manifest. And I would love anybody to come along this journey.
My handle is at Miss Zenya. And I really would like to be a person that helps people, like, ask me questions. Come join my page and on Instagram and ask me questions about how to live your life by design. I have literally lived in so many different places. I've met so many different people, and my voice has carried me there, but your gifts and your talents can carry you wherever it is you want to go. Lead with that. When you do things that give you as much joy as possible, then you gain confidence. When you're confident, you become attractive. When you're attractive, you become magnetic. When you're magnetic, you attract everything to you as opposed to going out there and getting it. So, my life I have so many cool things that I can do with my life. I'm a singer, a songwriter, and I'm writing a book right now. That's another thing everybody can know about me. It's called What the Fuck is Self-Love Anyway? And I'm writing it with a psychologist named Kaz Amos. And it's really just about finding out how magical it is to spend the time on yourself, to truly love yourself and become a magnetic being through just like pure self-love. Because we only have one job. The one job is self. We're so busy looking and throwing shade at everybody else. Like, you should follow this person. You should do this. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be nude. You shouldn't be a stripper. You shouldn't be a Christian. You shouldn't be a Muslim. Like, we're so busy looking at everybody else, but we have one thing that we can control, and that's ourselves. So we really want to get comfortable in our own skin. We really want to jump into doing things that we love. And that's what I'm doing. Like, in my life, I'm on, I guess you would call this Hawaiian trip a sabbatical. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but why not?
Yeah.
Live your life by design and see what happens. Just keep filling yourself up with joy and love every single day. Do the things that set your heart on fire and just magnetize everything to you. So, I mean, I'm full of different things that I love, but I couldn't say I'm just a singer. I'm just a musician, and I'm just, there's so much more to me, and the spiritual stuff I work on, like, that sets my soul on fire, and that brings songs to my heart.
Yeah.
So yeah, so come along, join the journey with me. Ask me questions. I love to interact with strangers on the internet. As long as they come with good questions,
Right.
as long as they come with a heart and good questions, I'm really down. I check my messages. I'll get to you eventually.
That's so awesome. And I think that's such an important message to put out to people is, just live your life, like truly live your life. Like it can go away very quickly. I found that out. I came far too close to losing mine, and at this point I'm like, put all the love out, put all the energy, like do what truly makes you happy. If you're not happy, then change it up. Go do what you want to do. Like this is your life. Make it beautiful.
That is all we can do. Like everything that you like, if you want to go on that trip, just make it happen.
Yeah.
And don't think too hard. Don't plan everything out too much, because you just get so rigidly attached to how this is going to go from A to B to C, just like this. But if you don't leave room for it, if you don't leave room for it to be more amazing, then you'll never get to experience the extras and the toppings that life can bring.
Yeah.
So, it's just like, for me, I set my intentions as what it is that I want to do, but I also leave myself open to receiving it. Like the day I got that call to work with Justin, I've been doing the work. I'd been doing the work that set my soul on fire, and I'd been doing it mostly for free.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, it was paid work, and very well paid work, and I'm being paid to go around the entire world. So
yeah.
But I just keep my heart open to receiving it, and I keep putting in the work. I keep walking the path, and like every single day there is a sign in front of you, whether it be a bird, whether it be a stranger saying something, whether it be a really interesting post on Instagram that resonates with you. You have traffic directions as to where you should go every day. There are omens everywhere that you could follow. So just, I live my life. What you can know about Zenya is I live my life by design. I don't know how the heck it's going to happen most of the time, but it always works out, and it's always a magical story.
Yeah. That's so cool. I love that. That's yeah, I think that's the only way I know how to live too. It's the only way that works for me. And then you kind of touched on a little bits of it in what you were just saying, but if you had the ear of everybody in the world, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say do what it is that makes you truly happy every single day. And I'll repeat what I said before, because I think it's so important that people, this was just out of my meditation. I got this the other day. If you truly do what it is that you love and you're passionate about, it brings you joy. When you feel like you're really good at something and you're feeling joyful, you feel confident. And when you feel confident, you become attractive. And when you become attractive, you become magnetic. And when you're magnetic, things come to you, people come to you. So I would tell people, do what it is that makes you happy. And that way you won't project any misery on anybody else. And because you'll be resonating at such a high frequency. And I love the way Abraham Hicks says it. I don't know if you've ever heard of Abraham Hicks, but Abraham Hicks explains it as like a spinning wheel. In the park, there's like a spinning wheel that you can get on, and the kids will spin around. But
Yeah.
if it's going too fast, then you can't just jump on, you'll hurt yourself. So what you really need to do, the only way that anybody could get on that disc is if they've got the same momentum. So if you're spinning at a high vibration, only people at your momentum can get on. So keep it that momentum, keep it a high every single morning before you leave out. Say things that say things to speak life into yourself. Think of things, even if it has nothing to do with your day, think of the person that makes you feel at the highest vibration. Think of the food that makes you feel at the highest vibration. Think of anything at all that makes you feel at the highest vibration. And that way, when you walk, you might find some money when you walk out onto the street. You might meet that person that connects with you, or someone might buy you a coffee. You will just miss that accident that happened to somebody else that unfortunately, and you missed it. Thank God you were on the right vibration. So I would just, that's my recommendation. If I had the ear of everybody else in the world, that's what I would say to do.
I love it. I love that so much. Well, man, it has been so fun to chat with you, and I appreciate you hanging out.
Oh, I've loved hanging out too. It looks cozy over there.
Yeah, it's my nice little corner. Yeah.
I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. God bless you. And let's stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Beautifully Human podcast. To hear more beautiful stories from beautiful humans, follow us on Spotify and rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at the Beautifully Human Podcast. Peace signs up.